At my own parents' house, my dad said, "You're just a worthless leech." So I exposed every lie and watched their world burn. I got home a little after midnight, the kind of night where nothing feels right. Not because anything went wrong, but because the silence felt heavier than usual. My shift ended late, but I wasn't working, just killing time. Didn't feel like going straight back to the house, not with the way things had been lately. I parked down the block, sat in the car for 10 minutes scrolling through nothing. When I finally walked in, the house felt too still. No creaky floors, no half-volume TV echoing from the living room. That's when I saw it. This dumb pink plastic teapot just sitting on the stairs like a trap. It belonged to my niece, Hazel, who left her toys all over the place, but she'd never brought them upstairs before. It was weird, like it was there on purpose, like a marker. I nudged it aside with my boot and climbed up, expecting to find my room the way I left it, messy, cramped mine. Except it wasn't my room anymore. The door was wide open, and in my family, open doors mean someone's picking a fight. I stopped cold. No bed, no desk, no shelves. The posters I grew up with, ripped or gone. All that remained were faint lines on the walls where furniture used to sit, and a fresh set of crayon scribbles smeared across the paint like some deranged kid mural. In the corner sat a pile of foam blocks, like my life had been bulldozed and replaced by a daycare. I didn't speak, just stood there and stared like I'd walked into the wrong house. Behind me, I heard my mom. "Hazel needs a place to play. You're barely here, Darren. The den's fine. You're 25. Time to grow up." She said it so casually, like she was reading the weather. I couldn't believe it. My stuff was crammed into cardboard boxes, stacked near the closet like donations for Goodwill. I laughed, and that's probably when she decided I was being difficult. No apology, no warning, just "you'll thank us later." She didn't wait for me to speak. She turned and walked out, leaving the air heavy with everything unsaid. I didn't go after her. I wandered back toward the stairs, heard hushed voices downstairs, my dad and Jasper, no doubt. My sister's laugh drifted from the kitchen like this was normal, like I was the crazy one. Hazel ran past me screaming about stuffed animals, dropped an armful on the rug, didn't even look at me. That stung more than it should have. I tried to sleep in the den, but the couch was lumpy, and Hazel woke up screaming at 5 for her tablet. My mom started yelling from the hallway that I should be happy she was enjoying her space. I didn't argue. I waited until the noise died down, then grabbed what mattered: passport, laptop, a couple of notebooks, charger. I stuffed them into a beat-up duffel and walked straight through the kitchen where my dad sat grinning at something on his phone like nothing had happened. He looked up. "You're not going to start something, are you?" I didn't answer. I didn't know him words. My brother didn't even look up from his cereal. I pushed the door open, got in my car, drove until the gas light blinked. I sat in a diner parking lot for an hour watching the sun come up, fingers gripping my keys, thumb tapping against the flash drive. It was cheap plastic, but inside was every receipt, every late-night Venmo, every time I paid the damn water bill because Jasper forgot. It wasn't revenge. It was documentation. A timeline of every time they told me I wasn't doing enough while I carried the weight they pretended didn't exist. At 7, I went back. Quiet. Careful. Slipped the drive through the mail slot. No note. No goodbye. My mom saw me. Her face looked like she'd swallowed vinegar, like I wasn't supposed to show my face again. I didn't stop. Didn't flinch. Just left. I didn't sleep. Crashed at Tyler's place. Guy I know through a web dev group. He offered his couch once when I fixed his router. Not a friend, not really, but better than nothing. I sat there, waiting. My phone lit up around 3 a.m. It was my dad. "We tore your room apart. Hazel needs it more. You're 25, not a freeloader. Grow up." I stared at it. Then another. "We signed you on Jasper's loan. 18 grand. Don't ruin his credit like yours." I didn't respond. What could I say? They forged my name. He just admitted it. Like I should be grateful. Like I owed them that. This wasn't a new pattern. They've always moved pieces behind my back, then handed me the mess like it was my reward. My mom always said family meant sacrifice, but I was the only one bleeding. My dad treated my paycheck like a loan he never intended to repay. My brother screwed up constantly, but I was the one who got the lectures. When I tried to leave last year, they convinced me I couldn't afford it. Said I'd come crawling back like my cousin Tim. You think the world owes you something, my dad once told me. No. I think you've been cashing checks in my name and calling it love. And now, suddenly, I'm a cosigner. I never saw a single piece of paper. They just did it. I spent the rest of that morning gathering evidence. Old emails, bank statements, bills still in my name. The water bill? I paid it for 9 months. Insurance on their second car? Still under my account. My brother's phone line? Still being drafted out monthly. I canceled what I could. Cut off the phone plan. Changed account passwords. I took screenshots of every threat, every demand. Started building a folder, not because I wanted a fight, but because I was done losing by default. My mom texted me, said I was ungrateful. My dad said I was a traitor. My brother? You ruined everything. Nah, I just stopped cleaning up your mess. By sunrise, I was running on caffeine and spite, sitting at Tyler's kitchen counter with my laptop open and half a granola bar in my mouth. I couldn't stop checking the group chat, expecting the fallout to start any second. At first, nothing, just my Aunt Laurel posting her usual cat memes and someone's blurry photo of pancakes. But then Roger jumped in, like he couldn't help himself, dropping a monologue in all caps about respect, responsibility, and how some people in this family don't know what it means to contribute. No names, but it was obvious who he meant. He tagged Jasper and me like it was some kind of family-wide intervention. Hazel finally has the space she deserves. Sacrifices had to be made. Real priorities. It read like a press release written by someone who thinks gaslighting is a form of leadership. Nobody replied at first. Then my cousin Brent liked it, which didn't mean anything. He just likes everything. A few minutes later, Jasper added his usual 2 cents. Not everything's about you, man. Sometimes people gotta pull their weight. I stared at the screen, wondering how the guy who still owed me $300 for a lost gaming console thought he had the moral high ground. My phone buzzed again. My mom was calling, then texting, then calling again. When I didn't answer, she started messaging Tyler's phone, which I hadn't even given her. That part threw me. She must have gotten it from an old Christmas list, or maybe from some family Facebook stalking. I stepped into Tyler's laundry room so he wouldn't hear and called her back. She picked up out of breath, like she'd just run a mile. How could you do this to us? She snapped before I could say hello. You embarrassed me in front of the whole family. Your father is furious, but he'll calm down if you come home and apologize. Then came the threat. If you don't, I'll tell everyone you stole from us. I looked around at the dusty detergent bottles and nearly laughed. I'm not coming back, I said, calmly. She hung up without another word. Back on the couch, I tried to zone out with YouTube, but my phone kept buzzing. Roger was now flooding the group chat with screenshots of old texts, me asking to borrow the car, me asking for $20 for gas back in 2004 like it was some grand betrayal. He captioned it all with always taking, never giving. See for yourselves. Aunt Laurel replied with a gif of a crying baby, which could have meant anything. Then my mom jumped in with a long paragraph about how I was tearing the family apart and how Hazel didn't understand why I left. Said I was cruel and selfish. Classic guilt routine. But no apology. No acknowledgement of the forged loan or the eviction. Just more demands to come back and fix it all. Meanwhile, I started making a list, literally pulled up my notes app and started typing every errand I'd run for them. Every payment I made, every time I picked up Jasper from somewhere sketchy at 2 a.m. I found old receipts in my inbox, utility bills in my name, a bank notice from when Roger overdrafted an account I let him access. I was 20 when that happened. I hadn't thought about it in years, but there it was, clear as daylight. I even found proof that my name was still tied to their car insurance. I called the agency and told them to remove me immediately. The guy on the line asked if I had permission from the primary holder. I told him he'd be hearing from my lawyer. I don't have a lawyer, but he didn't know that. Jasper texted me directly. You screwed me. They froze the loan. They're calling me nonstop. Just sign the damn papers and fix it. I told him I didn't sign anything and I wouldn't start now. It's already done, he replied. Stop playing the victim. That pushed me. I went back into the app and shut off every automatic payment connected to my account. The phone bill he used? Gone. The subscription services tied to my card? Canceled. He responded with a row of middle finger emojis and a message that just read, "You're dead to me." Not long after that, Roger called. I answered, curious how he'd spin it. He didn't even greet me. "You're destroying your brother's future," he barked. That loan is the only thing standing between him and a real job. I told him calmly he committed fraud, that he had no right to use my name. He laughed like that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. "What are you going to do? Call the cops on your own family. You'd be nothing without us." I hung up. He called back. I let it ring. He called again. Finally, I picked up and just held the phone out so Tyler could hear him rant. "You think you're a martyr, but you're just lazy. You were lucky we kept you around as long as we did." Eventually, I blocked him. Then my mom texted a guilt paragraph saying Hazel didn't understand why Uncle Darren didn't love her anymore. Said if I came back now, all would be forgiven. But if I stayed away, I'd regret it forever. I stared at the screen for a long time, thumb hovering over reply, but I didn't send anything. I've made that mistake before, thinking reason could win over control. Later that evening, I started getting messages from people I barely talked to. A cousin on my dad's side messaged, saying my mom was crying on the phone saying I stole something very important. I asked what she meant, and she just said she didn't want to be involved. One of Roger's old friends reached out, someone I hadn't seen since high school. "Hey, did your dad ever pay me back for that generator?" I told him to check in soon. I wasn't trying to ruin him. I just wanted the truth out there. I wasn't going to be the scapegoat anymore. I wasn't going to let them paint me as the villain while they played victim in matching sweaters for Facebook. By the time I shut my laptop, it was past midnight again. I hadn't slept properly in 3 days, but the adrenaline wouldn't let me rest. I kept replaying every time they gaslit me, every moment they twisted my words. I remembered my dad saying, "We don't air dirty laundry," right before yelling at me in front of 10 relatives. I remembered Jasper maxing out my card by accident and swearing he'd pay me back. I remembered my mom saying I owed them everything because I was born under their roof. Well, not anymore. I thought the worst of it was behind me, but turns out that was just the intro. The real meltdown started the next morning when I woke up to 20 missed calls, 5 voicemails, and a dozen blurry screenshots from Jill. Apparently, Roger had decided the family group chat wasn't enough. Now he was making house calls. I mean that literally. He'd shown up at our neighbor Mrs. Heller's place at 6:30 a.m. in his damn bathrobe, ranting about betrayal and forged documents, like he was the victim of some elaborate con. Jill sent me a picture she took from her upstairs window. There he was, barefoot in the frost, flailing one hand in the air while gripping his phone in the other like it was a weapon. My mom was on the driveway crying. Real sobs this time, not the usual dramatic sniffles she pulled when church people visited. What pushed them over the edge, I found out later, was the flash drive. They had finally opened it sometime after midnight, probably expecting a long apology or some kind of emotional letter. Instead, they got cold, organized facts, PDFs of bills in my name, screenshots of conversations, voice memos, and a scanned folder of every instance they manipulated or signed something without consent. No commentary, no narration, just straight evidence stacked like a legal case. I didn't think they'd react well, but I didn't expect a full mental collapse. Tyler knocked on my door, holding his phone, whispering, "Dude, is your dad really outside yelling at the neighbors? I think he's asking them to call the cops on you." I took one look at the video Jill had posted in the chat and nearly dropped the phone laughing. Of course, the group chat went nuclear. Roger jumped in first, tagging everyone from our second cousins in Ohio to Aunt Belle in Arizona. "He's lying," he wrote. "He's manipulating the narrative to make us look bad. Everything on that drive is taken out of context. He's been stealing from us for years. We trusted him. We gave him a roof. This is how he repays us." My mom followed up with, "I didn't raise a monster. I raised a boy who used to hold my hand when he was scared. I don't recognize this cruel person." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. My receipts were doing the talking now. For a moment, nobody responded. Then someone, I think it was Cousin Alex, sent a popcorn emoji. Jill replied with the driveway video, which had already been saved and reposted on 3 separate Facebook pages. Roger saw it and lost his mind. Left the chat. Rejoined. Left again. My brother, of course, was nowhere to be seen. The same guy who loved to weigh in with grow up speeches was now radio silent, probably hiding in the basement or texting someone else to clean up his mess. My mom's voice messages were still coming in every hour on the hour, her tone getting more frantic with each one. You've ruined everything. Hazel doesn't understand why you hate her. Your sister is in tears. Your father's heart can't take this kind of stress. Meanwhile, my sister posted a new photo of Hazel in her playroom, which used to be my bedroom, smiling like nothing had happened. My old mattress was in the background. The crayon scribbles were now labeled Hazel's wall. While they were imploding, I stayed busy. I visited the credit union in person, brought ID, signed an affidavit stating I never consented to co-sign anything. The branch manager, a guy named Cal, took one look at the mismatch in signatures and went, "Yeah, this is bad." They froze the loan, started an investigation. I asked for a formal notice to be sent to me. He nodded like he'd seen this exact situation before. I went straight to the DMV after that and double-checked every record with my name on it. Their second car? Yep, still tied to me. I submitted the paperwork to remove it, told the agent if anyone calls, forward it to my file. The auto pays I shut off were already causing waves. By noon, I got an email from the water company. Final notice. Service would be shut off in 72 hours. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just forwarded the email to my mom's old account and deleted it. At one point, Tyler looked over at me, nervous. So like, are they going to show up here? I told him maybe, maybe not, but that I'd be gone by then. I wasn't planning to stay in his place long. Just needed a few more days to figure out what came next. My inbox filled with half the family asking, "Is this real?" while the other half just stayed quiet. My cousin Eric sent a private message. "Not gonna lie, it's kinda impressive how detailed you were." My uncle Randy called and tried to play mediator. "You know your dad's got a temper. Maybe just talk it out." I told him it's hard to talk to someone who lies like he breathes. He didn't argue. By the time evening came, Roger was out of control. He messaged my old boss, left a voicemail saying I was unstable, hoping to get me blacklisted from side gigs. The boss forwarded it to me and said, "Family stuff. Huh? Ignore him. You're solid." That's when I knew Roger wasn't trying to fix anything. He was trying to erase me. Make me the problem, so he didn't have to admit he forged my name to secure a truck loan for his favorite son who still didn't have a job. Jasper finally texted again. "You happy now? They're saying I might not get the truck. What the hell is wrong with you?" I told him, "Handle your own debts. I'm not your cosigner anymore." He left me on read. I kept organizing my folder. Added more voice notes. Found old photos of checks I wrote to cover the mortgage when Roger forgot to pay. It was all there. A decade of covering for them while being told I was the disappointment. Now it was reversed. Now they were exposed, and I was finally quiet. No yelling. No emotional manipulation. Just facts. Jill sent one last message that night. "They're freaking out. Aunt Belle's threatening to cut them off. Grandma's asking if you're okay. Also, the neighborhood Facebook group is on fire." Apparently, someone live-streamed the driveway meltdown. I laughed until I couldn't breathe. At some point that weekend, I stopped wondering when they'd come to their senses and started wondering what rock bottom would actually look like for people like my parents. Turns out, it looked exactly like a hand-scrawled sign on their front lawn that read, "Private Family Matter. Do not film." Complete with duct tape and spelling errors. My cousin Briar texted me a photo of it Sunday morning, along with "They're losing it." Neighbors are just walking past with their dogs like it's a live sitcom. The utilities were now fully overdue. No more warnings, just shutdowns. The water company sent a crew by Friday, and my sister told Jill they'd had to drive Hazel to a gas station to brush her teeth. My mom called it child cruelty. I called it a natural consequence. Funny how they always loved consequences when they didn't apply to them. That same morning, I got a voicemail from Jasper that started calm and ended with him yelling about credit scores and emotional sabotage. Apparently, the loan officers now wanted written clarification from me that I hadn't agreed to the co-signature. I'd already submitted it, but the panic was setting in because now the dealership was threatening to cancel the truck agreement entirely. He blamed me. Obviously, despite the fact I hadn't even known about the paperwork until after they'd forged my name. Then Roger jumped into the group chat again, shouting into the void. This boy is determined to destroy his own bloodline. He was never grateful. He always thought he was smarter than everyone else. I didn't answer. Nobody did. My mom's texts were changing tone every hour, from threats to guilt trips to pure melodrama. I haven't slept in days. Your sister cries herself to sleep. Hazel thinks you died. At one point she said, if you ever loved me, you'd come back and fix this. That was the one that made me put the phone down and step outside for some air. Tyler's roommate had started avoiding me. Can't blame him. Being in the middle of a nuclear family implosion is uncomfortable at best. I tried to keep out of the common areas, used headphones most of the time, even did his dishes once just to clear the tension. But the messages didn't stop. At 2 a.m., my mom tried FaceTiming me from a blocked number. She left a voicemail that started with please and ended with you've cursed this house. Then came the Instagram posts. My sister uploaded a picture of Hazel playing on the floor of what used to be my room, captioned it her kingdom. I saw my old shelf in the background, repainted and filled with cheap stuffed animals. That part didn't even hurt. It felt distant, like a photo from someone else's life. I checked my emails and saw a message from the credit union confirming the freeze on the loan would remain until their investigation was complete. They attached a form stating I had never provided written or verbal consent. I downloaded it, saved it to 3 separate folders. Then I forwarded it to Jill and asked her to leak it if things got worse. I wasn't being dramatic. Roger was spiraling. He started contacting my old friends, telling them I'd gone off the rails and was trying to destroy the family name. One of them messaged me and said, dude, your dad's emailing people like this is a custody case. I told him not to reply. I wasn't looking for sympathy. I was looking for silence. Just for once in my life, I wanted the noise to stop. The next day, my Aunt Belle finally broke her silence in the group chat. She wrote, maybe if certain people hadn't been using their son's name for personal debts, this wouldn't be happening. Uncle Ross added, I always wondered how they were affording everything. My mom lost it. She sent a paragraph so long it broke into 3 separate messages, accusing Belle of jealousy, Ross of betrayal, and me of ripping our family's heart out. I didn't even read the last part. Tyler walked into the room right around then and handed me a soda. So what now, he asked. You gonna sue them? I shrugged. No idea. Depends what they do next. I was already thinking ahead. Already browsing rental listings. Already looking for jobs in towns with no emotional landmines on every block. By the time evening rolled around, the group chat was in full war mode. Half the family was trying to de-escalate. The other half was blaming each other for the fallout. Nobody blamed Roger directly, but more people were asking questions. Why was my name on the insurance? Why was I paying for utilities? Why was I still responsible for Jasper's phone plan? Aunt Laurel finally asked. Wait, how long has he been financially responsible for that house? That's when my sister finally spoke up. Since I moved out. Since before Jasper graduated. Silence followed. My mom left the group chat, then rejoined, then posted a photo of Hazel hugging a stuffed bear with the caption, she's stronger than you know. Later that night, I found a voicemail from Roger that sounded like it had been recorded after a few drinks. You win, he slurred. You finally got your little rebellion. Hope it was worth it. Hope you enjoy living on someone else's couch like a stray dog. He paused, then added, you think people are on your side? Wait till they see what kind of person you really are. I saved it, forwarded it to myself, added it to the folder. Not because I needed revenge, because I needed protection. If I'd learned anything this week, it was that my father would burn his own reputation just to flick ashes in my face. The morning it finally ended, there wasn't some epic confrontation or teary apology, just silence. The group chat, once a constant stream of chaos, had gone completely quiet overnight. No rants, no guilt tripping, not even passive-aggressive memes from the usual suspects. I knew something had shifted, but I wasn't sure how far it had gone until Jill messaged me with a short video and a line that just said, "You're not gonna believe this." The clip was grainy and filmed from across the street, but it was clear. Roger was out front again, pacing the yard in nothing but boxers and an old undershirt, yelling at some poor neighbor who stood frozen near the mailbox. My mom was on the driveway, barefoot, hair wild, sobbing into her hands like the sky was falling. From the sound of it, they just played the full contents of the flash drive together, probably on the kitchen laptop, while Hazel slept in what used to be my room. And apparently, it hit harder than expected. Jill's phone call came seconds after the video. He's out there shouting that you forged everything, that you're trying to bankrupt the family. He's pointing at the houses like he's on trial, like the neighbors are the jury. I rubbed my eyes, trying to imagine the scene. What about my mom? I asked, already knowing the answer. She's screaming that it's all lies, that you manipulated everything to make them look like monsters, that Hazel doesn't even know why you're trying to ruin her childhood. I didn't say anything for a while, just sat there on Tyler's floor, listening to a quiet apartment and realizing I didn't feel angry anymore, just numb. I opened my laptop, saw the utilities were now officially shut off, car insurance had dropped the policy, and the credit union had flagged the loan for fraud with a pending investigation notice attached. By midday, the neighborhood Facebook group had screenshots of Roger's meltdown. Someone posted a caption that said, "Leonard's having a rough morning," and the comments below were split between jokes and disbelief. One user even wrote, "Didn't he always say his family was perfect?" Another said, "Guess that son he kept bragging about finally grew a spine." Meanwhile, I was still fielding texts from relatives asking if I was okay, if I needed help, or if any of it was true. I told them what I told everyone else: check the documents. I'm not here to convince anyone anymore. My mom tried one last time that afternoon, called from a new number and left a voicemail that was barely a whisper. "If you come home now, we can still fix this. We can tell everyone it was a misunderstanding. Just stop airing our laundry." I didn't reply. That evening, Jasper finally broke the silence with one last text. "You ruined everything. You happy now? The truck's gone. The loan's dead." Dad's furious. Mom can't even talk to her sister anymore. What the hell did you think was going to happen? I read it twice, then typed back one sentence. "Take care of your own mess for once." He left me on read. That was the last I heard from him. A few days later, I packed my stuff from Tyler's place and moved into a cheap studio 2 towns over. Not glamorous, not big, but mine. I picked up extra hours at the shop, started walking to work instead of driving. Clean breaks feel sharp at first, but eventually the sting fades. I got a new phone number. Set all social accounts to private. I stopped checking the group chat entirely. From what I heard, Roger left and came back 3 times. My mom tried to rewrite the narrative again, but too many people had seen the evidence. And Belle stopped talking to her completely. Uncle Ross sent me a restaurant gift card with no note. Jill updated me occasionally, mostly with memes, sometimes with news. Apparently, the house got listed online for emergencies only. They claimed it was due to downsizing. 3 weeks later, I got a certified letter in the mail from an attorney's office. Inside was a short note from my grandfather's estate, something about a small inheritance I didn't know existed. Roger had apparently kept the paperwork from me for years, convinced I wasn't responsible enough to manage money. The amount wasn't huge, but it was enough. Enough to give me options. I put it straight into savings and never mentioned it to anyone. A week after that, my mom emailed me again from a different account. She said she was sorry things got out of hand, but still blamed me for how far it went. Said Hazel was having nightmares and that Jasper hadn't been the same since losing the truck. I didn't reply. The last straw came when I got a friend request from an old family acquaintance, someone who used to praise my dad at every church barbecue. The message attached just said, "I heard what happened. I'm proud of you." Not many people get out. That's when I knew it was over. Not because they forgave me or apologized, but because people finally saw them without the story they always used to hide behind. I didn't expose them out of revenge. I just stopped letting them write my part. I'm not sure if they'll ever understand what they did. I'm not even sure they care to. But for the first time in my life, they're dealing with consequences I didn't clean up. And that's enough.